Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Folks, it's Tuesday, May 5th, 2026, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. This Supreme Court, this right-wing Supreme Court, is so overtly partisan, they are doing the work of the Republican Party. Wait until I tell you what they just did when it comes to the congressional maps in Louisiana. We'll be joined by Justice Correspondent Elie Mystal. Folks, I'll be speaking with Executive Director of Win with Black Men about tonight's urgent call regarding voting rights. Tennessee, there's a law that says no gerrymandering in the middle of the process. They're going to just, Republicans, they are going to change the law. They were met with protesters at the state capitol today. Florida Democrats have filed a lawsuit against the congressional map that Governor Ron DeSantis has signed into law. Also in Alabama, protests there as they are trying to get rid of 2 black congressional districts. Also, Bishop William Barber will join us to discuss the GOP's war on Black America. And in tonight's Black Star Network Marketplace segment, we will feature a revolutionary product for women's period care. It's time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, y'all. It's rolling Martin, yeah. Rolling with rolling now. He's funky, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's rolling Martin now.
So, Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts says he doesn't like it when people look at the Supreme Court as being too partisan, saying that people have to respect the court. Well, what they did last night makes it perfectly clear that we should have no respect for this hardcore, right-wing, conservative court. Yeah, the court allowed a recent ruling last week that weakened a crucial part of the Voting Rights Act to take effect sooner than usual. This procedural decision comes shortly after the court ruled that it invalidated Louisiana's congressional map and diminished Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Typically, the court waits 32 days before officially issuing its judgment to the lower court. No, they said, we're not even going to wait a week. Last week, Louisiana has requested that the court expedite the process, emphasizing the urgent need to redraw its congressional maps. On Monday, the Supreme Court granted the request. In fact, Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito decided to take pot shots at Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. Yeah. The black voters in the Calais case have filed a motion asking the Supreme Court to recall the judgment, stating that they intend to file for a motion for reconsideration. Elie Mystal, Justice Correspondent with The Nation, joins us right now. So, Elie, for people who don't know, explain to them something called the Purcell decision, or the Purcell doctrine, if you will.
Yeah, the Purcell principle. It's pretty simple. It states that you cannot change the structure, the rules, the time, place, and manner, anything about the election. It says that you can't change those rules too close to the upcoming election.
Too close to the upcoming election. I'm sorry, Louisiana, their election already started. 42,000 people had already voted. The governor says, no, we're going to postpone that, and we're going to redraw the lines. And Samuel Alito said, this is so important, they must be allowed to do so. But, Elie, wasn't it 3 or 4 years ago when the Louisiana maps were declared unconstitutional, and the same Supreme Court said, stop, hold up, it's too soon? But that was 5.5 months before. I mean, remember it vividly. And they said, no, 5.5 months is too soon. The election already started, this one.
You're absolutely right. And the case was called Allen v. Milligan. It was in Alabama, and Alabama had these racist maps. These racist maps were so racist that even the racists on the Supreme Court were just like, oh, that's a bit too far. But they decided the case in February of 2022. And at that point, these conservatives, including Brett Kavanaugh, said that February 2022 was too close to the November 2022 midterms, and they invoked the Purcell principle. So they forced Alabama to have an election under unconstitutionally racist maps because they only ruled the maps racist in February and the election was in November. So that's the Purcell principle when it comes to restoring black voting rights. But when it comes to taking black voting rights away, apparently it doesn't matter. Apparently May in 2026, ahead of the November 2026 midterm elections, that's not close enough to the election to invoke this principle. So the hypocrisy from these justices is pretty evident. You were saying that the decision regarded a normal 32-day waiting period to reconsider. The reason why Louisiana wanted them to get rid of that period is so they could fast track, so they could move as fast as possible to take away black voting rights. Again, Ketanji Brown Jackson in the past 25 years found only 2 situations in which the court even considered getting rid of their waiting period, and they didn't in either of those times. That's what Jackson wrote in her dissent. So the idea of what they're doing is pretty obvious. But Roland, you said one thing that I guess I kind of disagree with. You were saying that it really shows how partisan this court is, how they're really going after Democrats and trying to help Republicans win the election. And that's true. But this doesn't show just their partisanship. This shows their deep, abiding racism. This is a purely racist decision because what you see happening in Louisiana and Tennessee, which we're going to talk about later in the show, and all of these southern states, Roland, they are trying to eliminate the Congressional Black Caucus. They are trying to eradicate the Congressional Black Caucus. There are 67 members of the Congressional, 67 Black people serving in Congress. Most of them represent districts in the South. And those are the districts they're trying to take away. To the point that when we talk about these gerrymandering maps, these new maps, Roland, they are leaving white Democratic districts alone. They are not splitting up because, we all think that like the only Democrats in the South are black, and they ain't. There are some whites of good conscience in the South who vote for the Democratic Party. Their neighborhoods are untouched. They're not cracking and packing the white Democratic neighborhoods in Louisiana, in Texas, in Tennessee. They're only going after the black ones. And so I just don't want people to, even for a second, miss that this isn't just political. This isn't just conservative v. liberal, Republican v. Democrat. This is white v. black.
Absolutely.
This is white supremacists coming for our very right to participate in democratic self-government, and they are winning.
And see, the thing that I need people to understand, this is from Talking Points Memo. Go to my iPad, Anthony. They call this Alito's Alabama pickle. They said in order to not look stupid, Samuel Alito had to differentiate the court's 2023 decision in Allen v. Milligan from Calais, despite the fact that they are virtually the same. I need people to understand that this exact same Supreme Court agreed with the lower court that Alabama needed to create a second congressional district because black voters were frankly being cheated. The same Supreme Court ruled in the exact same second seat in Louisiana that it needed to be done. And the Republicans went out and said, fine, we're going to draw us a black district. And then they said, okay, so now we're going to draw the black district, and then now we're going to take the same district, same seat that they made us draw, and now we're going to sue to get it completely overturned in Alito and Clarence Thomas and Roberts and Gorsuch and what's the woman's Comey? Kavanaugh and Barrett went, oh yeah, you know what? You're absolutely right. As if the Alabama decision that they made and the Louisiana decision that they made never existed.
Yep. That's what happened. And remember, what the litigants in this, the people suing on behalf of the racists in Louisiana, were a group of white voters who were arguing that they had a constitutional right to over-representation. And I never want people to miss that. White people said that they were being discriminated in Louisiana because of the second majority-minority district in Louisiana, that was discriminating against white rights. Even though white folks only make up 60% of the population of Louisiana, the white folks there were arguing that they had a constitutional right to more representation than they deserve. Right? Whenever we talk about gerrymandering, whenever we talk about voter representation, you never have Black people asking for more than we deserve. You never have Black people asking to be overrepresented. We just want to be counted fairly. But these white folks, they literally are going to the Supreme Court and winning at the Supreme Court on an argument that is based on overrepresentation. Now, in terms of the hypocrisy of the Supreme Court justices, I'll give Sam Alito this. He dissented in the case that you just brought up. He dissented in Allen v. Milligan. Alito's actually not the one that flipped. He's always hated us, as has Clarence Thomas, as has Neil Gorsuch. The people who flipped were media darling John Roberts. It is John Roberts. I was honestly surprised, Roland, when this decision came out, not the ruling. I knew the Supreme Court was going to do racism, but I was surprised that Roberts let Alito write it as opposed to taking his prerogative as Chief Justice to write that decision, because it was a coward move from John Roberts. Because John Roberts is the person that said Alabama's map was unconstitutional back in 2022. And now in the carbon copy exact same situation, John Roberts has changed his mind. Well, he owed it to people to explain to people why he changed his mind. What was different, John? What's the new thing that happened? And he punked out. He punked out like a little coward, and he gave it to his, rabid attack dog, Sam Alito, to write the most awful decision that Alito could think of. And Roberts just signed his name on it, but he never explained why he changed his mind. It was a coward punk move from Roberts. But again, this is this Supreme Court. When I was on your show in 2021 and 2022, begging the Biden administration to do something about court expansion, to expand the number of justices on the Supreme Court, this is why. This is what I was screaming about.
Oh, I'm sorry, Elie. You were screaming for Biden and the Democrats to do what the Republicans in Utah did, where the Utah Supreme Court ruled against them and created a Democrat congressional district, and the Republicans said, oh, damn this, we're adding Utah State Supreme Court justices, and the legislature approved it, governor signed it into law.
I was begging the Democrats to protect the Voting Rights Act, if for no other reason than out of self-preservation. Right? If you can't do it on the moral grounds and you can't do it on the legal grounds, do it for self-preservation, Democrats. But they didn't. I was begging them to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, which would have restored a lot of the previous issues with the Voting Rights Act that the Republicans had taken away. But, we can't kill the filibuster, so what can we do, Joe Manchin? Was the answer that you got. And so now, to quote Al Gore, we are living in a time of consequences. This is what happens when you let racist Republicans control the Supreme Court. And what that consequence is going to be is the attempted eradication of the Congressional Black Caucus. But I don't want to leave people just with doom and gloom, although I don't have a lot of hope at this moment. I don't want to leave people with only that. Understand, all of these gerrymanders, all of these maps, they're based on a previous idea of voter turnout. They're based on a previous idea of Black voter turnout. They're based on a previous idea of Latino voter turnout. And they're based on an idea of white voter turnout. If Black people, Latino people, and whites of good conscience overwhelmingly turn out, like Obama 2008 numbers turn out, all of these maps fail them. All of these maps fail them because to make the maps, because you can't completely erase the people, to make a majority minority district safe for a white Republican, what you have to do is not only is get just 50% plus one into that majority minority district, you also have to weaken previously strong Republican districts to make the numbers work. Right?
And Elie, and this,
if you overwhelmingly turn out, you blow up all of their calculations. And it is the only way at this point.
And that's why when I call this what it is a GOP war on Black America. I said last night, this should be Freedom Summer 2026. I walked people through this graphic that I walked through, that what happened, the numbers do not lie. The numbers are very clear. And the reason Republicans are pissed off is because of what happened in 2008. Anthony, go to my iPad. Y'all, it's right here. You see right there, 2008, 2012. The black line, that's black people. The blue line, it's white people. 2008, so y'all, the blue line is black, the black line is white. And you see right here, 2008, 2012, where you have black people outvoted white people. Now, here's the deal. They pissed off Latinos. Latinos are way down here. Latinos were under 50% in 2008. They exceeded 50% in 2020, went back down to 2024. And what I have been saying, point blank, Elie, is that this right here, this graphic right here, white is black, black is blue. If black people turn out in massive numbers, oh, they're screwed. Because you have to move people. If the South Carolina wants to get rid of Clyburn's district, you got to figure out what to do with a lot of black people. If you in Mississippi and you want to get rid of Congressman Benny Thompson's district and make it GOP, you're going to have to get rid of 40% of black people in the state. If you are in Tennessee and you say, oh, we're going to split Tennessee, split Memphis like we did Nashville, well, those black people, they're going to go in somebody else's district. And again, we can torpedo them at every turn. So this is why I'm saying mass voter registration. This is why I am saying every single week in every single city, in every single southern state, there should be town halls, voter citizenship training, walking people through the issues and getting them to understand that we can kick their asses at the ballot box. And it also means in North Carolina, re-elect Anita Earls to the North Carolina Supreme Court. And in 2028, when those 3 Republicans are up on the ballot, take all 3 of them out at the ballot box. It means Georgia. It means Georgia on May 19th, having those 2 candidates. We had one on last night. One name is Miracle, one name is Jen. Elect them to the Georgia Supreme Court. Yo, this is warfare, Elie, and people got to be on warfare footing.
It's the only way. I cannot emphasize enough. There is no more legal recourse. The Supreme Court is showing they ass. All right, they are here to bring the hammer of white supremacy. There are no more lawsuits. There's no more. That avenue is functionally closed. And frankly, there are no more candidates, right? Like we can talk all the time we want in the off years about how we need these candidates and that candidates and better candidates and better, and it doesn't matter at this point. All that matters is turnout. And one of the reasons why they gerrymander districts is that they know that people will look at the district they're in and feel like it's hopeless, feel like there's no point, feel like there's no reason to go out and vote, because how can you possibly overcome such a large white majority? But you got to remember, lots of white folks don't vote either. Right? And if you have a better turnout per capita than they do, and you bring friends, white friends along, and you bring Latino and AAPI friends along, like that is how you do it, and that's the only way left. And the last thing I'll say, this, as bad as it is shaping up for 2026 in terms of voter suppression, please understand 2026 is going to end up being our last best chance for voter representation, because all of these gerrymanders, it's only going to get worse in 2028, and it's only going to get worse in 2030 after the next census, when they have a normal redistricting. The 2030 census will be the first census where they will be able to do normal redistricting without the restrictions of the Voting Rights Act. So it only gets worse from here. If you can't win here, if you can't win now, if you can't win in 2026, it only gets worse going forward.
And Elie, this is also why finally you have folks waking up. Democrats in New York, you have to run the table. Democrats in Illinois, run the table. To that asshole Senate president in Maryland, get your ass in gear and stop protecting that one Republican seat because they don't give a damn about one Democratic seat in other states. It means California, yeah, go for a 52-0 map. That's what you do.
Yep. It's absolute hardball. You cannot unilaterally disarm. I know that lots of people on my side of the aisle, oh, gerrymandering, it's so icky and gross. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter anymore. Like what they did in Virginia is exactly what you have to do in all of these other states where Democrats do have control. Michigan, like as you say, Democrats have to run the table in the states that still allow Black voices to be heard, and then you need overwhelming turnout in states where the Black voice is suppressed. And that's your shot. That there is but one play now, and that's the play.
Yep, that's it. Elie Mystal, Justice Correspondent. We sure appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much for having me. All
right, folks. If you want to understand how shameful, despicable these people are, this official from Georgia went on Newsmax, and he literally said that I know there's an election going on. I know people are casting ballots. Oh, by the way, early voting has already started in Georgia. The election is in 14 days. It's in 2 weeks. But Congressman Buddy Carter said, I don't care. We should just stop the election and change the maps.
And I'm glad that Tennessee and Alabama are redrawing their districts. And I think that Georgia should do the same thing. Yes, we have started early voting. And yes, it would be inconvenient. But at the same time, it's never too late to do the right thing. And the right thing is for the governor and for the legislature to call a special session to redistrict so that Georgians will be represented by people who represent their values. We shouldn't have to suffer through the next 2 years just because it's inconvenient to do it now. We need to suspend the House races, and we need to go ahead and redistrict so that the Georgians would be represented in the next 2 years by people who represent their values.
Yeah, if you could just even take a moment and kind of, walk our audience through how might redistricting really impact the balance of power between Democrats and Republicans in the state of Georgia.
Well, we could potentially pick up 2 to 3 seats in the state of Georgia. And that's important because that could impact the national majority. It actually could be the difference between us going back as Republicans in the majority in the House and going back as in the minority. And that's important. It's important that Georgia do this. As I say, it's never too late to do the right thing. And the right thing is to go ahead and redistrict so that Georgians will be represented by people who represent their values. Georgia is a Republican state. We need to remember that.
Yeah, and exactly.
Georgia is a Republican state, as if Democrats don't exist. Oh, by the way, as if your 2 United States senators right now are not Democrats. Randy Bryan's entrepreneur, author, speaker, creator of The Truth in Game, joining us from D.C. Dr. Mustafa Santiago Ali, former senior advisor for environmental justice at the EPA, also from D.C. Nicole Robinson, political law attorney and strategist, also from D.C. Glad to have all 3 of you here. Mustafa, I'll start with you. I just keep saying it. This means war. And this means all hands on deck. This is why House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries, this is why he dropped $20 million in Virginia. This is why he is funding the effort in New York State as well. Democrats have got to stop playing this wonderful, nice, cute, let's all get along. No. This is called being Bumpy Johnson ruthless.
Yeah, most definitely. We actually break this down. This is about the erasure of Black power. Every time that we begin to make some strides, then they start to implement these types of things. If you look at the Congressional Black Caucus that Elie had raised there just a moment ago, we've got some of the highest numbers that we've had in a long time, that of folks who are representing our communities. And that power translates into being able to make sure our air and our water is protected, that that we're making sure the care and housing and transportation is affordable and accessible. So folks really have to understand why this is so incredibly important. So when they do the gerrymandering, what they're doing is they're, trying to take away the small amount of power that we have and the resources that are tied to that. And that's why, when you talk about this current war that's going on, it's so incredibly important to actually not only pay attention, but get engaged, because you are literally making a determination of what your future will look like. And does your vote have any power to actually help move in the right direction?
Oh, absolutely. And when I look at this here, Randy, we talk about DEI. I mean, this Supreme Court says, hey, we want power for white people. This is why I wrote my book, White Fear. I said how the browning of America is making white folks lose their minds. I warn everybody of this. I warn that these people are going to cement white power, and this is exactly what they are trying to do today.
Right. You know, when people talk about racism, they really try to minimize it to someone calling us the N-word or being rude to us in a store. And I want people to understand that this is real racism. This is how they wipe us out and bring us to our knees. And that is by going at the top. They have systematically gone through every program that was designed to give us some rights, some. You know, it wasn't all the way fair in this country. So they immediately attacked DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, to ensure that white people would be the ones that were essentially only included and treated fairly and paid fairly in jobs, although DEI helped white women more than anybody. They have now, they have the EEOC encouraging white men to declare that there's reverse discrimination going on, because in their minds, although they control most of the money and power in this country, when there's something that they don't have, they really believe white supremacy makes them believe that they are due and owed everything. And now with this voting, what they're saying is that we don't want Black people to have a voice whatsoever in this country. We don't want them to be able to vote for their rights and their interests. And not as if we can trust them to speak for us or care for us or put us, you know, in a good form. So we are in trouble, people. And I hate to again, scare people, but we should be frightened to the point where we're doing something, because this is a straight up attack on us, on our rights and our liberties, and on the way that we can live going forward in this country.
Nicole, this isn't about scaring people. It's called stating facts.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I want people to keep remembering and keep hearing the words white supremacy, because that's exactly what this is. Sometimes white supremacy doesn't look like a hood or a burning cross or a noose. Sometimes it looks like a 6-3 Supreme Court ruling. Sometimes it looks like redrawing a map. But I also want us to remember that Black people have fought back every single time that white supremacists tried to silence us, whether that be after Jim Crow, after Reconstruction. We have fought, and we can fight this again in November. And even before November, we need our legislators to come back and come out and start redrawing maps just like the Republicans are doing. We have to start fighting now, educating ourselves now, registering to vote now, and getting on the front lines.
Absolutely. And folk just need to understand what is at play. And this thing is real. Now, folks in Louisiana, the days following the suspension of Louisiana's U.S. House primaries, Governor Jeff Landry is facing increasing backlash from voters. On Monday, Louisiana Secretary of State's office confirmed that it has received a petition to recall Landry. The petition begins a 180-day window for organizers to collect the necessary voting signatures. The petition was filed by Baton Rouge residents Marlon Gabalian Hills and Caitlin Stepter, and covers all 64 parishes. Supporters of the recall claim it is motivated by what they describe as a pattern of actions and statements that undermine fair representation. Since it is a statewide recall effort, Louisiana law mandates the signatures from 20% of registered voters must be collected. That means about 600,000 signatures. They have until October 31st to actually to collect all of those signatures. Now, what we have seen is a number of people immediately begin to move and take action. Win with Black Women on Sunday had some 8,000 sisters who were on a call talking about what are the next steps. Today, we're going to show you a bit later, Black clergy held a news conference where they talked about what their strategy is. Tonight, Win with Black Men will be having a call, an emergency call, to respond to what is happening. Joining us right now is Khalil Thompson, Executive Director, Women with Black Men. Glad to have you here. You already got folks who are signing up. What is going to be the call to action tonight?
First, thank you, Roland, for having me on. I appreciate it, big brother. So the call to action is to organize on the ground. I think we were all tired at the end of 2024. We ran through the ticker tape, and we thought we did everything that we could as a Black community. The single largest voting bloc on the Democratic side were Black women. Second to that were Black men. And I think we felt that we carried democracy on our shoulders, and we just didn't see the result turn out the way that we wanted. Not that any of us were complacent in 2025 and we were preparing for this decision, but I think it's woken up a lot of community members, armchair activists who are there to get engaged and get in this fight. So the action is to show up in your state houses, participate in the legislative process. So as they are redistricting, if there is a member in your state senate or your state house or your state assembly that you can contact, call, knock on their door, be in their offices, let them know how you feel and pressure them to understand that this is white supremacy at its best. We need you to do it. Then we need to turn this summer into an amazing opportunity to engage anyone from the age of 17 to 105. As many African Americans that we can get to understand that knocking on doors, talking to our community members, reaching each other at our fish fries, our family reunions, anything that we can do to make sure that not only are you registered, but you're constantly, unfortunately, going to have to check the voter registration rolls in your community to make sure that you haven't been purged or removed. And then partnering up and tripling your vote. By that, I mean finding 3 other people in your community that can hop in the car and go with you to vote, either in early voting and on election day, or vote by mail if it's still allowed in your jurisdiction. So we need to make sure that this summer we are galvanizing all of our efforts so that everyone in our community is participating.
I disagree. I think people were complacent. I think too many people, after the 2024 election, I kept hearing, oh my goodness, I'm tired. We've done so much. And I was like, bullshit. I'm sorry. I'm like, this is what's happening. He got inaugurated. They were executing Project 2025. We're seeing massive cuts left and right. We knew the Louisiana versus Clay decision was coming down. And I was sitting here saying, y'all better get ready for the fight ahead. And I think that was a problem. I think too many of us, too many people took all of 2025 off, and now they're waking up going, oh my God, what's happening? And I'm like, what are you talking about? We were yelling and screaming that this was going to happen. It was coming down. Now people are now trying to move, and I'll be perfectly honest. It was too many Black organizations sitting there on our asses in 2025 and not preparing people for 2026. Now we got to play catch up.
Well, let me push back just a little bit. I think some may have sat on the sidelines because that $2 billion that went out the door in 2024 didn't make its way back around.
No. I get that. I get the $2 billion from the campaign. But guess what? There were other campaigns. And what I'm saying is it was a mistake. And what I'm saying is when I look at the history of Black people, after elections, when we've had losses and we've had wins, we still got to go to work. And so, plus, a lot of people weren't sitting here going, oh, my goodness, hey, a lot of money from the campaign wasn't going into Black communities. No, what I was yelling, and others were saying, we have to protect Black interests. And again, this to me was a critical mistake of Black leadership. There were people who were just like, oh, my God, I don't know what to do. I mean, look, it took Democrats in Congress 9 months to figure out a coherent message. And so I just think that this is a perfect example where Black leadership has to understand win, lose, or draw, we stay active. It's a 365, 7-day-a-week game that we have to be focused on. And people were saying, I want to do something. Where do I go? And Khalil, I'm just being straight up. A lot of Black groups took off the year and people were saying, what do I do? Now, they now have to get activated, and now we have to rush. It's now May. We got June, July, August, September, October for the election. We got 5 months. That's why I'm saying that's on Black leadership.
I can't disagree with you. I know I got dismayed and disheartened when August came around last year, and I leaned back just a little bit. We continued our calls, but only as much as we could in the team that we had here. I don't disagree with you on getting engaged over these next 5 months. So, I'm 100% in it with you, whether it's registering Black men in communities. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, like in terms of fraternity, non-fraternity, blue collar, white collar, or no collar. We're asking you to get out and show up in your communities. So for me, and I'm taking heed from you, our calls at Women Black Men are going to be every Sunday. Every Sunday at 7 p.m., we are going to be galvanizing at least for an hour, bringing Black men together, sharing information, whether that's data from polling or focus groups, whether that's Terrence Woodbury or Cornell Belcher or others bringing information to us, or if that's Cameron Trimble and Terrence Green providing what's happening on the digital or the paid media side, or organizers like Cliff Albright and Quentin James, as well, providing insight of what's happening on the ground. We're also going to be highlighting Black men who are running for office. So tonight on our call, we have hopefully Charles Booker is going to join, running for U.S. Senate out of Kentucky. We've got Will Colomb, who's running for U.S. Senate out of Mississippi. We've got Chris Jones, who is the Democratic nominee in Arkansas. Mike Blake, who's running for office in New York, for congressional office in New York. And then Robert White, who's also running in D.C. We've got a couple of gubernatorial candidates out of Georgia, Jason Estevez and Michael Thurman. And then there's a couple of gubernatorial candidates coming out of Alabama, Pastor Will Boyd, and I'm blanking on the second one. So our opportunity is to make sure we're highlighting. There's a dynamic brother who's running for U.S. Senate in South Dakota. So we want to make sure the information is getting to the people and then working to make sure we're organizing on the ground. And so our summer activities are going to be making sure we have civic engagement programs running not only throughout the South, but in communities that we want to do our work in. So we're looking for partners and we're looking for people who are ready to step up, take on the mantle and shoulder this burden and get the work done.
Yeah, but what also needs to happen is you can have people on a call, but we also have to look at critical states. And when I look at the map, when I look at, first of all, they're trying to gut every Black seat all across the South. And so people are fighting on that front. The other front is this here. When you look at the United States Senate, who's going to be able to control the Senate? And I keep saying to all those simple Simon Yahoos, look, y'all are nonpartisan, that's fine. But here's the fact of the matter is this here. The Republican Party, there's a war on Black America and control room. I don't understand why my graphic is not on the damn screen like it was last night. There's a war on Black America. That's what's going on right now. And what needs to be happening, our people need to be locked and loaded 100% to understand we ain't getting jack from the Republican Party. I'm going to have Michael Harriot on a little bit later, where Michael Harriot is we're going to walk through Project 2025 and all of his anti-Blackness. And so I need us to understand that the only pathway for Black people is the Democratic Party. You can't say it, but I can say it based upon the actions. Right now, I need everybody listen to me right now. There's only one party that is trying to decimate Black political power. That's Republicans in South Carolina, in Tennessee, in North Carolina, in South Carolina, in Georgia, in Florida, in Mississippi, in Alabama, in Texas, in Arkansas, all throughout the South. That's what they're doing. And so some of y'all can listen to Umar Johnson and y'all can listen to some of these other people. You can listen to Stephen A. Smith talk about, I wish all of us would vote for Republican. But the party that is attacking everything Black is the Republican Party. They are the enemy of Black America.
You got no pushback from me. I know our organization is nonpartisan, but I vote Democrat every single time I go into the ballot. Now, does that mean it's perfect? No. Does that mean I want to hold them accountable? I think you said something really tremendous at the beginning of the segment where we lean back. I don't. I'm going to hold, as I said in 2024, this is a job interview for that people are applying for. And if you're not meeting the grade and you're not doing the work, then we've got to replace you and find somebody else who will get the job done. But we shouldn't throw out the baby with the bathwater and make sure we're trying to find all these new brand of candidates. I think there are amazing people who are running for office right now. But we got to make sure that they're protecting and motivating our interest and believing in what's best for the Black community. I disagree with all of those who say my vote doesn't matter. My daughter has less rights than her mother did. She has less rights than her grandmother does or did when she was her age. That is an amazing feat to say. So I want people to understand this isn't hyperbolic. This isn't, as we've said over the last couple of election cycles, the most important election. This truly is the most important election in your lifetime. If you do not go out and vote, you have sent a clear message to the 6-3 decision on the Supreme Court that it says that, well, they don't really vote, so it really doesn't matter. They can gerrymander us all that they want. They can make out these districts where we have zero representation. And so the people that you want to have fixing your potholes or your streets, making legislation that may or may not have data centers come into your communities, that have good education for your children, that have free childcare, all of that starts to go away if you do not participate in the political process.
All right. So tonight's call starts at what time?
8:30 p.m. Eastern. Go to winwithblackmen.org. Join the Tuesday call, or you can scan the QR code right on your screen right now. Again, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We are going to go to 11 o'clock Eastern. Tonight, we are going to break down Louisiana versus Calais. We have a dynamic brother from the Legal Defense Fund. We have a few of our civil rights leaders. We've got some folks. My son, the general out of New York, is going to be on. Isaiah Martin. We've got candidates who are running. And then we've got brothers on the ground. Emil Washington is in Louisiana, in Baton Rouge right now. We've got Mayor Randall Woodfin and others who are going to be calling from Alabama as they're in their state legislature. We're working to get Justin Pearson on in Tennessee. We have Justin Love, State Representative Justin Love in Tennessee that's going to join us as well. And then I think we are going over to, I'm leaving out one more state. But we're going to hear from folks on the ground doing the work,
okay,
and really leading the efforts.
All right. Khalil Thompson, we surely appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, brother.
Folks, in the next hour, we're going to hear from Bishop William Barber. Go to my website, go to my iPad, Anthony. We talked about this last night. What Bishop Barber's doing, they're going to be holding a national virtual training. He's calling on black men and black women who want to be trained to organize and mobilize for black voters. If you go to blackstarnetwork.com, click this particular link here. It will take you to this page, and then you will be able to actually click the Black Men Civic Engagement link right there to actually sign up. Now, if you don't want to do that, listen, this is the QR code. Just point your phone to the screen. This is the QR code. Will take you right to the page. Again, we started this by initially calling for 1,000 alphas. We've almost at our goal. Then we expanded that to other black men. Then a bunch of sisters were emailing, so we added sisters as well. This is about training people to organize and mobilize. It's one thing to say, oh my goodness, we need people out there doing the work, but you got to be trained in doing the work. Let's go back to my panel. Nicole, I want to start with you. Listen, I'm being straight up. I was pissed off last year. I think black leadership sat on their asses. I thought too many black organizations were quiet. I thought they were having internal conversations. I thought there were too many black people, especially millennials and Gen Z and Gen Alpha, who were sitting there going, oh my God, I'm tired. Oh my God, I'm tired. It's just we had to do so much work. And I'm like, they sound like a bunch of whiny asses. And I said it then and I'll say it now, because we were yelling and screaming on this show every single damn day. Yo, y'all need to see what is coming. And too many black folks took it easy, and they said, we're going to sit this one out. We're going to see, we'll let y'all, what y'all do. And I was sitting there going, hell no, because I knew who was on the menu, and it was black people who was on the menu.
Exactly. And we knew that even before President Trump was elected. Kamala Harris tried to warn us about Project 2025 so many times, but nobody took it seriously. In fact, black voters turned out for President Trump. And then after he started delivering on Project 2025, people want to start acting surprised, like we didn't know that was going to happen. And it's unfortunate, too, because once we saw that federal workers were starting to get fired, that he was launching all of these executive orders against DE&I, that should have been the starting point for people to get activated and recognize that something worse was going to happen. But it took us up until this point, up until the Supreme Court said that black votes don't matter, for people to start paying attention. But I mean, my hope for the future is that people stay activated and they don't get distracted by shootings and discussions about ballrooms and all the other things that Trump is trying to distract us with, and that we stay mobilized and get ready for this fight in November.
And Randy, here's the deal. What I kept saying to people is, I don't want to hear this crap. They're like, oh man, you should be going there. And then you also had too many Negroes who, man, they calling me a shield. You should say, man, go tell them to kiss your ass. I mean, politics is politics. And when you look at the map, it's real simple. There are two parties in Congress, Democrats and Republicans. There are two United States senators who are registered independents, and knew what they do? They caucus with the Democrats. So I'm like, I'm not sitting here having this philosophical discussion about, because guess what? I ain't seen Jill Stein issue a goddamn statement after the Supreme Court decision with the VRA. We ain't seen her ass. And so this is what I'm talking about. Listen, when I say this is war, this is war. What these people want to do, they want to lock in white power for the next 50 to 100 years. And I need a Gen Z and a Gen Alpha to understand they want Alito and Thomas to retire this year so they can replace them with a Supreme Court justice who's 40 or 42 years. Clarence Thomas this week has hit the mark as the second longest serving Supreme Court justice in American history. He was appointed when I was in college. And so folk need to understand this ain't no game. They know what they're doing, and they are trying to say, yeah, we gonna lock y'all out for another 100 years. Damn what y'all accomplished the last 60.
Right. You know, it's like people in the middle of a gunfight when I have a conversation about the legality of guns. We're in the fight. They're shooting us right now. So we cannot have a philosophical conversation about guns. Maybe after we get through this and we survive. And so that is what's been happening right now, is that you have these detractors who are saying, well, I don't believe in the two-party system. And, you know, people like Jill Stein, who we only hear from once every 4 years. Like, where is she? She doesn't show up whatsoever. And they want to have these conversations. And I always tell people we have to function as it exists right now. And there are two parties that have a chance of winning. And let me tell you which one, as we keep saying, is not attacking purposefully, strategically, and unfortunately very effectively Black people. We got to get on it. And when you talk about the Supreme Court, I don't think people understand, or hopefully they're seeing right now, sadly, the power that the Supreme Court has. And it's not an every 4-year thing. I think they're in there an average of 28 years. They're there a long time. And so when they're in there, they completely set up the way we live. Since in this short time, in what I would call Trump's Supreme Court, women have lost their right. Black people have lost their right. Anyone who considers themselves an immigrant have lost rights. It has been set up essentially to give white men all the power in the world that they already didn't have.
Right.
Because let's not say that they were suffering, that they already did not have.
Right.
It is a good, yes.
Well, the thing for me, Mustafa, is this here. It's a lot of Black organizations who all of a sudden are sending out fundraising emails. I ain't having them on the show. See, my whole deal is, if you ain't been out here doing work, I'm talking about on the ground work, I'm sorry. Don't come talk to me right now. And this is my problem. This is the problem that I've been talking about. As a matter of fact, the book that I'm working on speaks to this. Black people, I heard it all across the country. I've heard this across the country the last 20 years. But I really heard it last year. Yo, Ro, what we gonna do? What we gonna do? What's the plan? How we gonna fight back? Who's leading? Where are our organizational leaders? And many of them were silent as hell, scared to protest, scared to say anything, scared to do anything because they might lose their corporate funding. To the folks who were holding on to their DEI money, it was like, I ain't saying nothing. I ain't gonna say nothing. We're gonna lose them checks. That's what was going on there. And now all of a sudden, we're about to see a third of the Congressional Black Caucus wiped out. No, almost half of the Congressional Black Caucus wiped out. We're about to see state legislators, county commissioners, city council members, school board members, you name it, wiped out. And so I'm going, oh, now y'all want to get involved? What have I been saying for the longest? We got to be sitting here informing, educating, enlightening, and empowering our voters every single day. You don't wait till November, you do it the year before, and you do it the whole year. And then come January, between January and that primary, you again have a strategy there. Then you're getting them registered. And then once you get them registered, when is the last day to register? And then when is early voting started? How do we get them to the polls? How are we driving them there? That's called a strategy. I'm like, let's stop waiting and hoping to see who here shows up. Black people have been saying, where are our leaders and where's the plan? And too many folks been sitting their ass down, chilling, popping their fans, where the fans at, and doing boots on the ground, as opposed to doing the real work.
Well, you know, we've often utilized the quote that all skin folk ain't kinfolk. And sometimes they actually are the ones that are in leadership inside of many of our organizations. So we need to be very honest about that. we need to also be very honest that, we got a whole lot of people who like to talk a good game, but when it comes time to doing the work, they don't show up. They're not at protests. They're not at strategy meetings. They're busy having corporate conversations. And yes, I understand you got to keep the lights on in your organizations, but your organization's got to be doing something to make sure that it is protecting and uplifting Black folks. And if not, then we don't need your organization or we don't need your leadership. In this moment, let's be very clear that what we see currently going on is not something that just started over the last few years. You can go all the way back to Newt Gingrich and those folks and the strategies that they were putting in place to be able to revamp the government, to make sure that various laws that were a part of the social safety net were weakened. And you're seeing all that play out now. So we have to get engaged. We have to make sure, as we've talked about since the first day I came on this show, that we have to make sure that we're understanding the power that exists inside the courts and making sure that we are making sure that there are judges who are there who will make sure there's real equality and how the law is being implemented and how it is being evaluated. We got to make sure that there are folks who are sitting in these seats of power inside of governments from the local level all the way up to the federal level who have control over grants and contracts, that they're coming back to our communities. We got to make sure that folks can actually afford a house, that folks can make sure that they're eating clean and safe food, that they breathe clean air. All these things are a part of the strategy that we have to be supportive of. And if somebody wants our vote, that they're willing to stand up for, along with making sure that you're protecting voting rights and a number of other types of things. But that means that people got to get up off the couch. Everyday folks got to get up off the couch. The folks who are leading our organizations got to get up off the couch, because you can't lean back and ever make progress. You can only make progress when you lean forward.
Absolutely. All right, y'all. So it's been very interesting. Last night we talked about some comments Stephen A. Smith made on Cam Newton's podcast, saying that he wished that Black people would all vote Republican. Let me play that again for you.
I wish for one election that every Black person would vote Republican. What? How can he say that? I said, it's simple. Since 1964, the Black people, Black folks, we have been giving our vote to the Democratic Party at an exorbitant rate. Therefore, they know they got our vote, and they don't have to cater to us as much as we need them to. The Republicans know they'll never get our vote, so they don't give a damn about us. And as a result, we're the only community in America devoid of representation, which is why we're considered disenfranchised. I'm tired of that. What I want is to put ourselves as a community in a position where both parties have to work to get our vote.
Can I ask you this? Do you think you covering politics like you cover politics, in the words of your mans, is that good for business, your business?
It has the potential.
Stephen A. Smith said, we're the only group devoid of representation. That's a lie. Like, I literally have no idea what the hell he's talking about. Like, literally. Is Governor Wes Moore not Black? In Maryland? Is Don Scott, the Speaker of the House of Virginia, not Black? Is Louise Lucas, the Senate Pro Tem, not Black? Is Lieutenant Governor of Illinois not Black? You've got 58 members of the Congressional Black Caucus in Congress. You have Vice President Kamala Harris. Is she not Black? We can go on and on and on. You've got Lieutenant Governor right now in Michigan. You've got a Black Attorney General in Nevada, a Black Attorney General in Maryland, a Black Attorney General in Massachusetts, a Black Attorney General in New York State, a Black Attorney General in Illinois. What the hell is he talking about? We are devoid of representation. Now, if you're saying that there are 4 Black Republicans, yeah, but guess what? All 4 of them are going to be gone come January. But this is why. So we had Michael Harriot, founder of the Contraband Camp, on last night. We brought him back tonight because I saw Umar Johnson. I saw these other Black conservatives like, that's right, Stephen A. right, Stephen A. right. Because this notion is that, that if we voted Republican, then they would listen to us and start doing what we desire. I find that to be nonsensical. So I called Michael and I said, Michael, let's actually walk people through what the Republicans said they were going to do to black people in 2024. Matter of fact, not even 2024, because Jonathan Swain and Axios dropped the story in 2021. They were preparing Project 2025. So they started in 2021. So Michael Herod joins us right now. So Michael, let's go ahead and get started. So since all of these people are saying, yay, Stephen A is right, and if only we could vote Republican, they're going to start listening to us. Michael, please illuminate for people and remind people what Republicans actually said that they were going to do if they regained power as it relates to black people.
So the first thing we have to know is that from the beginning, even before 2020, the Republicans had a dream. Their biggest dream was to repeal the Voting Rights Act. That's why John Roberts was a Supreme Court nominee. That's why how he got on the Supreme Court. That was his mission, to repeal the Voting Rights Act. In 2013, I interviewed the gentleman who was the councilman who they were trying to get out of his county seat. And that case became Shelby versus Holder, right? And that was their first step, right? That was the first step to eliminating the Voting Rights Act. When Trump got elected and when Trump ran in 2021, what did he promise, right? He was going to get rid of affirmative action. He was going to, bring back what was called the National Origins Formula, which was essentially a race-based quota system for immigration. He promised all of this black stuff. And apparently in 2020, Stephen A. Smith thought that's who he was voted for. And it's important to know that I went and attended a lecture at the University of Alabama, Birmingham in 2013, and Stephen A. Smith was saying the same stuff, right? So if Stephen A. Smith had his wish, every black person in America would have voted for Donald Trump, right? That's what you begin with. Every black person in America would have empowered this white nationalist that we wanted. And when Donald Trump was kicked out of office by Joe Biden, he went even further, right? Stephen A. Smith said that's what we should have voted for. But what did he say he was going to do? He said he was going to get rid of DEI. He said he was going to get rid of affirmative action. Said he was going to get rid of all of this, what he called divisive rhetoric about teaching black history. He said we weren't going to be talking about race. He said he was going to give drug dealers the death penalty. Right? He said he was going to create these camps for homeless people. He said he was going to repeal every equality that we had in the housing sector, right? And on the first day in office, he did it. Here's the thing that we have to understand, right? I know we say people like Umar Johnson and Stephen A. Smith, who don't know history, like to think that we started voting Republican in the civil rights era, but that's not true. As you showed from the data I sent you last night, it began way before that because black people identified with the Republican Party in the 1930s, but when it came to president, they voted for FDR. Why did they do that? Well, in 1941, FDR asked Mary McLeod Bethune to get her the smartest black people he could find. One of them, a Harvard University professor named Rayford Logan, wrote the executive order 8802 that desegregated the defense industry. That caused the Great Migration, right? And so because we got the president to do what we wanted, we identified as Republican, but voted for a Democratic president. That began the move toward the Democratic Party. And black people did not necessarily flock toward the Democratic Party. What happened was white people flocked away from the Democratic Party when they began giving us our voting rights. It started with the desegregation of the military.
So Michael, you're saying that when just like into a neighborhood, when black people start going to a party, white people run the other way.
Right, and that's when, so again, if you look at the data, We voted for president for a Democratic president after FDR. White people began flocking away from the Democratic president, and when George McGovern ran, because he ran on all of these racist dog whistles, right? And then
I'm sorry. George Wallace ran on the racist dog whistles. You said George McGovern. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. And George Wallace ran toward on the racist dog whistle. Remember, the first thing Strom Thurmond did when he switched from the Democratic Party to the Republican Party is what? We know now. He went to the FBI office and said that I want you to open a case against this man named Martin Luther King Jr. That's why they sent Martin Luther King that letter telling him to kill himself. Stephen A. Smith wants us to vote for that party, right? It's absolutely insane, aside from the lack of logic that we shouldn't give our votes to the Democratic Party, but we should give our votes to the Republican Party, who has demonstrated their opposition to our progress. It doesn't make any historical sense.
So when we talk about, to your point, when you talk about, because you mentioned housing, and again, this is what I need. So all these people who keep saying, yeah, if we vote Republican, then they gonna listen to us. And you just laid out housing. Go to my iPad. ProPublica did a story. Donald Trump shut down. Go to my iPad. Go to my iPad. Donald Trump shut down an investigation of ProPublica. ProPublica did a story. It was a HUD investigation of racism among a Dallas HOA. Donald Trump said, nah, we ain't doing that. Black people in Cancer Alley, Louisiana, were protesting and were suing what was taking place there, where they were dying because of the petrochemical plants. Donald Trump pulled out of that lawsuit, saying it was a DEI lawsuit. Lowndes County, Alabama, black people had sewage that was flooding into their homes and backyards, and the Biden-Harris administration negotiated a settlement. Donald Trump saying, nah, that's a DEI settlement. We've walked through numerous times where Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans have completely shut things down, discrimination cases, education department. They pretty much wiped out civil rights offices. They're not investigating anything. The Department of Justice, they're not investigating any police officers of wrongdoing. So I'm just trying to understand, Michael, where these people are coming from when they think that Republicans are going to all of a sudden start embracing a black agenda.
Right. First of all, to what you said, right? You know, I read the entire Project 2025. One of the things that Project 2025 said, and it's broken down by federal agency, right? And what Project 2025 proposed was that he get rid of the Office of Civil Rights in every federal agency. People don't know that there's an Office of Civil Rights, not just in DOJ, but in the HHS. Well, all of that is reflected in his 2027 budget. We published a report today that went line by line through his latest federal budget that he's proposing for 2027. He wants to get rid of the DHS Office of Civil Rights, right? He wants to make Alcatraz spend $1.7 billion to remake Alcatraz into what is essentially a concentration camp, right? He wants to defund black farmers, right? There was a grant that gave $300 million to black farmers who were at risk of losing their land. He has already proposed in his budget to get rid of that program. And he wants to get rid of 49 of those 50 grants. Well, who got the 50th of those grants? A white nonprofit organization, right? And so what we have to understand is not just like the rhetoric of this slick talking sophistry that Stephen A. Smith likes to put on YouTube, right? But we have to understand what the facts are. Right? If those people, if the Republican Party, that white nationalist party, actually wanted to compete for our vote, they could have done it. They talked all last campaign season about how they're going to attract black men, but they didn't demonstrate it with any actual policies, right? It was just something that they said. And so we have to understand the difference between people who just talk about things on the internet, like Stephen A. Smith, who is a great entertainer, and someone who's actually studied and don't think that they're smarter than my grandmama and our ancestors and all of the Black people who ever lived, who wrote the policies and studied the issues and didn't go on ESPN and talk about sports and the Cowboys, but actually knew history and politics and things that only appear in books.
And see, my thing is this here. To me, this segment is not even about Stephen A. I just use this clip. But see, it's a lot of these people who say the same thing. So, oh, you're a liberal slave. You're on the plantation. We ain't got nothing from Democrats in 60 years. They haven't gotten, we've done nothing. It's like, I mean, they can go on and on and on and on. And I sit here and go, okay, can y'all please tell me the 5 issues on a Black agenda that Democrats don't support and Republicans do support? They never are able to do so. So what happens, Michael, is that these are the phrases. Stephen A. used one of them. They pay us lip service. Okay, what does that mean? They ain't done nothing for us. But Michael, here's the crazy thing. It ain't like Black people have been non-critical of Democrats. It ain't like we ain't said y'all ain't doing enough. Like, that's what's so stupid. I ain't running to nobody Black saying, you know, Roland, they've done enough. They have been absolutely amazing. No, the point of politics is to always ask for more. But what gets me is the other side, they ain't done a damn thing.
That's the anti-intellectual straw man that they built, right? They said, well, the Democrats don't give us exactly what we want. So, you know, they must not be for Black people. We should leave that party, right? When politics, nobody ever gets what they want, right? Like, the anti-intellectual part of that is the assumption that Black people are 100% satisfied with the Democratic Party. When you know, and I know, that we have criticisms of the Democratic Party. They chase after white moderates, right? They sometimes do. They pay us lip service. They don't know how to reach Black voters, right? And those are valid criticisms, right? But just because your house ain't exactly like you want it, right? Like if you got a leak in the roof, you don't burn the house down and say, man, we got to move, right? You try to fix it from inside the house. And that's what Black people have done to the only political representation that they really have a chance at electing in a two-party system.
I referenced this the other day. It was always interesting to me. And again, I like to deal in facts. I ain't dealing with emotion. I ain't dealing with drama. I'm not dealing with people who just sort of just throw BS out there. And the first time Trump was there, I was very clear. One of the first things that Republicans did was they overturned, and Trump signed it into law, they overturned what Obama did to stop discrimination in auto lending. And this actually happened, y'all, because I was looking for it last night and I finally found it. This happened on the floor of the United States House, and this is actually where Reclaim My Time originated. I need y'all to listen.
Make sure that we're making America great every day in every way. And the best way to do that is to stop talking about discrimination and start talking about the nation. We're coming together as a people in spite of what you say. Thank you, gentlemen. I yield back.
Gentleman's time has expired. Members are reminded to address their remarks to the chair. The gentleman from Texas reserves, the gentlelady from California.
Thank you very much. The gentleman, Mr. Kelly, please do not leave because I want you to know that I am more offended as an African-American woman than you will ever be. And this business about making America great again, it is your president that's dividing this country. And don't talk to me about the fact that we don't understand what happens on the automobile. No, I will not yield. No, I will not yield.
Okay.
Don't tell me that we don't understand. That's the attitude that's been given toward women time and time again.
The gentlelady will suspend The chair wishes to remind all members that they are to address their remarks to the chair.
I
Gentlelady will
respect the
continue.
chair, but don't stop me in the middle when you didn't stop him in the middle. And so I shall continue. Don't you dare talk to me like that and think that somehow women don't understand what goes on the floor of automobile dealers.
Minded to direct her remarks to the chair. The gentlelady will continue in
I
order.
will continue to do that. However, I don't appreciate that you did not interrupt him when he was making those outrageous remarks about him knowing more about discrimination than I know about discrimination. I resent that, and I resent the remark about making America great again. He's down here making a speech for this dishonorable president of the United States of America. Having said that, I reserve the balance of my time, and no, I do not yield not 1 second to you. Not 1 second. Not 1 second to you.
So here's the question, Michael. Why in the hell would I, as a black man, give my vote to a party that wants to get rid of laws that fight discrimination in auto lending? Why in the hell would I do that? Why in the hell, after 10 black people were gunned down by a white supremacist at a grocery store in Buffalo, New York, and Jamal Bowen, then congressman, introduces a resolution condemning white supremacy, and not one Republican supported it, why in the hell would I give them my vote?
Well, here's a better question, Roland. When they were arguing about that, right, that Obama-era policy, how did that get into law if the Democratic Party only pays us lip service? When Trump repealed 48 Obama-era policies on his first day as president, how did those policies get into effect if the Democratic Party only pays us lip service? When he repealed Executive Order 8802, which is written by a black man, how did it get into law if the party only pays us lip service? If the party only paid us lip service, then how did Obama file suit, his DOJ filed suit against every major lending institution for discrimination in America? If they only paid us lip service, then how did we get the dear colleague letter on the department from the Department of Education warning school districts that, hey, we're going to sue you if you keep disproportionately punishing black kids? Like, if they only pay us lip service, if they don't do anything for black people, why do they got to repeal the laws, right? Like, where did the laws magically come from if the party only pays us lip service?
Yeah, and the other thing is this here, this is what I would love. And again, I would love for Stephen A. or Umar or any black conservative, what's that silly Negro, Vince Ellison, whatever his name is. I would love for any of them, to explain to me how is it that black-owned businesses received $10 billion in federal contracts in the last year of Biden-Harris. And let me be real clear, that's 2%, and I ain't happy at all about 2%, but it was $10 billion and it was a record number. We're now down to 1.2% under Trump. So again, why would I, as a black man, give my vote to a party that does not want black people to get contracts? Why would I do that?
Well, not just doesn't want black people to get contracts. They repealed the legislation and the executive orders that allowed black people to get contracts. They repealed the legislation that, again, created the biggest demographic shift in American history. That came from Executive Order 8802, which is gone now, right? They repealed the affirmative action executive order, which was written by Hobart Taylor Jr., a black man, right? They're repealing the executive orders and the legislation that we created. And we are expected to vote for those people? Like, the only thing that explains it, right, is that there's only one word to explain it that's created by the generation after mine. They gotta be ops, man, right? They are opponents. They are our opposition. They want us to vote for people who oppose us. There's only one logical explanation, that they are our ops.
Let me just get it. Y'all stay right there. In my studio, I'm gonna need y'all to put this back on the wall when I'm done. In my studio, go wide.
I know exactly what you're getting.
Go wide. Come on, go wide. Y'all, I got 3 cameras right here. Switch to a wide shot. What we doing? Okay, I don't understand why the camera not wide. Anyway, so y'all, thank you. That's the shot I wanted, please. Now, y'all, this is the poster from Nate Parker's The Birth of a Nation. And when I saw this poster, I said, Nate, you got to send me an autographed copy so I could put this in my studio. And y'all notice in this poster, the noose around his neck is a U.S. flag. That, Michael, to me, is the equivalent of us giving our vote to the Republican Party. We are voluntarily lynching ourselves. We are voluntarily screwing ourselves. Onyx Impact put together a report dealing with the budget, it's called the Blackout Report. And go to my iPad. You see it right here. So we've lost some $3.4 billion in federal grants. 591 black books banned across 21 states. We've been wiped out thousands of jobs because MAGA's been targeting black people. Y'all, that's a noose around the necks of black people. So, Michael, it would literally be black suicide to say, oh, let's give all of our black votes to the Republicans because they might begin to love us.
Right. It's what they're suggesting is that there is someone who's been stalking us and trying to kill us, and they haven't completed their mission. And what Stephen A. Smith wants us to do is just give them more bullets, right? Like, that's what he wants, to give them, the people who have been trying to kill us politically, to kill our rights legislatively, to give them more bullets, because somehow that would make them not shoot us or stop shooting at us. It doesn't make logical sense.
It doesn't make logical sense, and there's no way in hell I would tell anybody that should happen. Michael Harriot, Contraband Camp. Go to my iPad, y'all. Please read this piece on Contraband Camp. A wish list for white supremacy. 7 ways Trump's 2027 budget will hurt black America. Y'all take a look. Please also support Contraband Camp. You can subscribe. You can also donate. And so please go to contrabandcamp.com, contrabandcamp.com. Y'all, today, Black Enterprise announced they were laying off their 15 freelancers. Listen, we are losing black-owned media left and right. It ain't a lot of folk doing the work that we do. So what we do here at Black Star Network, what we do, what Contraband Camp does, and so we got to be supporting black-owned media and all that we do. Michael, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me.
I'm going back to my panel here. I mean, Mustafa, we got to be some damn fools to sit here and listen to these yahoos say some of the most ridiculous things when, again, I don't wake up a Democrat. Let me be real clear. I have never in my life called myself a Democrat, a Republican, or even an independent. I call myself black. And I would be outside of my damn mind if I decided to say, yeah, let me go ahead and stand with the people who are doing all they can to screw over black folk all across this country.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. I always say I vote for who cares about my community and is willing to make sure the words are translated into real action.
Yeah, Mustafa, you are a big time this right here. You are a big-time environmentalist. Why in the hell would you, as a big-time environmentalist, as a black man and environmentalist, give your vote to a party that stands against everything you believe in as an environmentalist?
I wouldn't. Everybody knows that. I stand on that all the time. You know, I was just going to say that many of these folks who you have identified today who are asking people to give consideration in voting for the Republican Party, I would ask them to actually go with myself or a number of other folks to real communities who are actually barely hanging on, and in many instances, their lives have been shortened because of the impacts that are going on inside of their communities, the poison that's being pumped into their veins, into their lungs, into their bodies, into the babies that are coming, into this next generation. And that's the thing that just baffles me, is that we get people who come on TV, who come on these platforms, who've never spent any time in community and seen exactly what is going on, where people are getting cancers and they're getting liver and kidney diseases and all these different types of things that are currently going on. And that's why I say that I give my vote to somebody who's willing to actually work on those issues, somebody who's willing to put the dollars back into community, where we've been under-resourced for decades upon decades. And that's what we have to get to, is because these people will make these broad statements, but they don't talk about Black maternal health and what's actually going on in our communities and who's been willing to make the funding that's necessary for us to begin to make some gains in that area. They don't talk about what's going on with Black farmers and how we have less and less land, and that means we get less and less fresh food. They don't talk about what's going on in the grocery store because they're so far removed from what's actually going on in Black communities. That's why I say you have to earn my vote, and that means that you have to put real action with the words that are coming out of your mouth.
Nicole, you are a lawyer. Why in the hell would you, as a lawyer, give your vote to a party who right now won't prosecute a single cop for wrongdoing? You had a jury in Los Angeles convict a former deputy sheriff of beating a woman who was recording, and Donald Trump's U.S. attorney came in, did a post-conviction plea deal, took it from a felony to a misdemeanor. When Donald Trump got sworn in, one of the first things that he did was give a pardon to 2 cops in D.C. who chased down a Black kid who was killed, and they were chasing him unnecessarily. They were convicted by a jury. Donald Trump pardoned them. Donald Trump has attacked law firms that have opposed him and then tried to force him to sign awful deals. Why would you, as a Black attorney, vote for those fools?
And this is the same party that's supposed to be tough on crime and all about law and order. The only time they care about crime and law and order is when it's used to hurt Black people. We see this party advocating for the prison industrial complex, even if they don't want to call it that. They want us in jail. They want us in change. They want to bring back Jim Crow. And honestly, Roland, at this point, I think Stephen A. Smith might be a plant by the Trump administration or something, because what is he talking about? I know that he cannot point to one Republican policy or one Republican candidate that would do anything helpful for Black people. And this rhetoric is especially dangerous right now when we're sitting here almost about to be back in Jim Crow because of what the Supreme Court and Trump and his Klan members are doing. So Stephen A. Smith does not deserve a platform, and I hope Cam Newton also learns that he shouldn't have had him on his platform either.
Randy,
this is a shame.
Randy, you have spent your career trying to get more of us in corporate America, get us promoted, get us on boards, get us on contract. Why in the hell would you, as a Black woman who has fought in the DEI space, give your vote to a party that despises diversity, equity, inclusion, that wants to have more white men in power, that does not want to see us get contracts, that does not want to see us sit on boards of directors? Why in the hell would you do that?
I wouldn't. I would never. They have been consistent with trying to block Black people from any positions of power. They have been consistent in trying to ensure that we don't earn as much as them. Today, we earn on $1. A white man gets $1 for $1. He earns $1. Whereas a black man will get 80 cents of that. A black woman, 60 something cents of that. We don't even earn what they earn. And what people need to understand is that's purposeful. For doing these same exact jobs, they have actively worked against us. This is not a neutral party, and then maybe the Democrats do a little bit more. This is a party that has dedicated themselves to actively ensuring that we can barely function in this country. It has been an absolute fight. The reason why I stepped away from working in DEI in corporate America is because it was so deflating, because I was seeing what they were doing every day to knock us down on our knees and make it where we are simply crawling. And when they point to people like Stephen A. Smith, when you talk about DEI, is because they get that one magical Negro, right? And they'll say, oh, we couldn't be racist because look at who we hired. Look at who we've given a platform. But it's always a person that speaks against us. They speak against Black people, which is why he has a platform. Think about all the Black journalists and newscasters who have lost their jobs over the past year because they were trying to speak truth to power, stating absolute facts. They were let go. So if you see someone who has a large platform on a media platform that is owned by, you know who they're owned by, trust me, they're speaking not for Black people, but against our interest.
Absolutely. Y'all, for more than 50 years, Tennessee law has blocked state lawmakers from redrawing congressional districts except every 10 years after the U.S. Census. But these MAGA folks, they're like, nah, we're just going to change the law because they're trying to kiss up to the twice-impeached criminally convicted felon-in-chief. Protests were taking place all today in the state capitol in Tennessee, where Republican Governor Bill Lee called state lawmakers back to Nashville to ensure congressional districts, quote, accurately reflect the will of Tennessee voters. Now, mind you, what they want to do is there's only one Black congressional seat in Tennessee. That's in Memphis. They want to destroy that. Yeah, seriously. Listen to what took place today in Tennessee.
After each enumeration and apportionment of representation by the Congress of the United States, the districts may not be changed between apportionments.
Are you saying they're breaking the law today? Is that what you're
Of course. Was there ever a doubt?
A bill that will break this law.
Can I see the law?
Constitution, Article 1,
you.
Section 1.
That all power is inherent in the people,
and all free governments are founded on their authority and instituted for their peace, safety, and happiness, for the advancement of those ends they have at all times, an unalienable and indefeasible right to alter, reform, or abolish the government in such manner as they may think proper.
So they get to break the
Article
law?
1, Section 2.
Doesn't matter that they break the law?
So again, folks, they got a law. Republicans like, oh, hell no, we're just going to change the law. That's what's going on, folks. We have to have mass mobilization, mass action against these folks. That's what Bishop William Barber, the Repairs of the Breach, Poor People's Campaign, has been talking about, calling for a number of years. Bishop Barber joins us right now. Bishop, we've been laying out, this is an absolute war on Black America. You've been talking about fusion politics. It was a lot of white folks sitting there in Tennessee. This is where white folks of conscience, Latinos, Asian Americans, Native Americans need to understand, hey, it ain't just us. Republicans in Florida, they wiping out Latino districts. They wiping out Latino voters. And so if they think this is only us, they coming for y'all too?
Look, you better believe it. For that tactic rolling that you just saw there reading the Constitution is something we train people how to do in the Poor People's Campaign with Repairs of the Breach. I saw some of my folk there, and it needs to be even more diverse But listen, we're in this battle. You and I have been talking about, we are in the battle for whether we're going to have the ending and retrogression of the second Reconstruction or whether we're going to fight our way into a third. And they are intending on undoing the second Reconstruction. You know, let me just say a thing about Stephen A. and I'll move to the other. You and I will debate him and whoever, anywhere, anytime. That's just ignorant, a lot of the stuff he said. And we need to debate him in a place where he doesn't just get to holler, 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 but actually has to talk facts. Because it is dangerous in this time to be throwing out things that are not rooted in history. Do you know, in your audience, that here are some things that if we had not had a diverse Congress because of the Voting Rights Act, here are things that would not have ever existed. The American Rescue Plan that put $1.9 trillion in economic relief to combat COVID would not have passed without a diverse coalition. Infrastructure, investment in jobs, 1.2 million infrastructure. When you talk about this is hurting black, white, and everybody when they want to roll back these laws, the Inflation Reduction Act would not have passed. CHIPS and Science Act that put $52 billion in not only semiconductors, I know it's a little technical, but in research to make sure that our communities are not left behind would not have passed. The Affordable Care Act would not have passed. All of these things passed, and many others, Roland, only because of the gains of the Second Reconstruction, and only because we had a diverse Congress where the Black Congressional Caucus was able to be the conscience of the nation and vote and make sure that things were done. Now, here's one other thing, though, Roland, and you know we talk real. I think that right now, too, we have to have what we call the AI moment in the Bible. In Joshua, when Joshua lost the battle, God said, check your camp out.
Boom.
It's not your enemy. You check your camp. Now, I'm going to say this. People are going to get pissed off, but that's all right. Anybody, black or white, in the Congressional Caucus, Civil Rights Organization, whatever, that did not join us in 2020 when we said, demand that the only way we pass COVID relief, particularly the corporation part of it, is to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act law and living wages simultaneously. There were people that turned away from that, told people not to mobilize, said we'll come back to it. We'll give Manchin what he wanted out of Tennessee. Manchin promised us he was going to do something. And we knew it was a lie then. And there's got to be some repentance. I'm not saying we're going to beat up on folk forever, but we got to own some of this stuff is of our own doing as well.
Yeah.
Now, once we do that, Roland, we can't have no 45% turnout no more in the black community. No more. We just can't. We can't have the remaining majority black districts that are still existing. You have to run like you are losing. You have to turn up the vote and turn out the vote. We can't have 60% or 50% of our people staying home. Never again. We need 10 years of massive mobilization in the black community. And every politician that comes before us, particularly the Democrats, we need to say, if you get our votes and we give you a majority in the House and in the Senate, what are you going to do in the first 50 days? 50 days. And the first thing has to be a brand new, restored Voting Rights Act that fits this moment. And if necessary, do what Franklin Delano Roosevelt threatened to do, and that is win the presidency and then expand the Supreme Court. Otherwise, we just whistling Dixie.
Yeah, I mean, I think what happened, and let's just be real clear, Bishop, you had a whole bunch of civil rights groups who were trying to play it safe, who were inside sitting at the table, did not want to put external pressure on Biden, Harris, and on the Congress. And it was like, no, we good. And this is the mistakes the Democrats made with Roe v. Wade. They've now made it with the Voting Rights Act. They were like, oh, no. That's settled law. The Supreme Court is not going to roll those things back. What this Supreme Court is saying is, we the end. Can't nobody tell us what to do. We got supreme power, and we about to use it the way we see fit. And we will ignore our own precedent do what the hell we want to do to achieve the outcome that we want to achieve, which is align with a right-wing conservative Republican Party.
That's right. Because they know the demographics role, and you've talked about this, are shifting so fast population-wise. The only way you can hold on to power in the next 10, 15 years is to cheat. And this has been something that's been going on. We could have fixed the Voting Rights Act ever since June 25th, 2013.
That was Obama. Obama was there.
That's right. That's exactly right. Obama, then Biden, then Congress. There were and anybody, I don't care who it is, a congressional leader, a whip, who said to folks, "Hold off, back up." I remember we went to Tennessee, put 1,000 people in front of Manchin's office, and white and black, to challenge him to do what he promised John Lewis on his deathbed. And he told our folk, "Oh, I've been assured from other groups that I don't have to go along with your pressure, and they're gonna be okay with the vote on the COVID relief for corporations." He wanted some for his sludge plant or something up in West Virginia, and then he promised he would come back and vote for the Voting Rights Act, and there was never a comeback because we never should have let him off the hook. After the 2020 election, COVID relief, living wages, and the Voting Rights Act should have been the top 3 actions on the table and should have been done in the first 100 days of that new administration. Now that we're not there, we've got to now go back and that's why you and I are working to organize 1,000 men, alpha men, and now we've got the Amy Zion and others are coming in who will engage in the kind of massive mobilization because we have to make them pay. So let's, for instance, say they've cut right now some of the Voting Rights Act. If we turn up our vote, we can actually change some of the districts that are not predominantly black districts, but we can make it so they can't win in certain areas and we'll have to answer to the power of the black vote. But we can't do it with just 45% of the people turning out. Come on, y'all. We have to have a turnout like they had in South Africa when Mandela was running for president. You remember that, Roland?
Absolutely.
Lines around the building, everybody standing in line for hours in the hot sun. That's the fight. That's the battle that we're in now.
Well, we don't even have to. Go there. When I was in Mound Bayou, Mississippi on Friday, and that was a photo. I took a photo of it, and that was a photo that they had, and it was at a voter event. It was a voter event in 1954, I think, and they said that was a near riot as people were clamoring for voter registration. A near riot. I talked about when I went to the National Civil Rights Museum in Memphis. And there's a sign, and I thought I took a picture of it. I'm gonna try to find it, where a young sister said, "All I want," and for all y'all black people doing all these extravagant ass prom stuff, this is what it said: "All I want for my 18th birthday is a voter registration card." That's what we got to get back to.
That's right. That you and we voting for our lives. You've been saying it. I know Rachel Maddow put it up there last night, but you've been saying it for years. We are in a battle. We're in a war. You got to vote for your life. You actually have to get, pissed off. I think God gets pissed off at injustice when I read the Bible. You got to get pissed off that these folk literally went down to our parents' graves and just desecrated them. But even that's not enough. I heard your brother talking earlier. When we talk about what's happening in our community, the number of people that are dying because of lack of health care, dying because of poverty, dying because of lack of living wages, and you have a party that has just gone all out MAGA and saying they're going to do everything to make that worse, not make it better. There comes a time that self-preservation has to be the first law of nature. Self-preservation has to be the first law of nature. And we are in that battle and that war right now.
You talked about the effort. We have it up on blackstarnetwork.com. Y'all, if y'all go to blackstarnetwork.com, And you see it right here. Bishop William Barber is looking for black men and women who want to be trained to organize and mobilize black voters. That's going to take place in June. Bishop, explain to people why they have to be trained to do what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's not just getting up, Roland, and doing a cute speech. It's not just getting up, having a voter rally and say, y'all go vote. It's not using Trump and Clarence Thomas as punchlines. I've been watching some preaching lately, and I'm a preacher, so I can talk about it. And brothers and sisters, I get the punchline, but if you're not organizing your church, and then 2 miles around your church, and then 5 miles around that 2 mile, if you're not really doing micro-organizing, really understanding the power of the vote, there are places, Roland, that, and this is why you have to be trained, where out of, say, 800,000 black people who didn't vote, just 10% of that would change everything. But you have to know that, and you have to be trained in that. You have to know how to use the technology. You have to know where to knock and where to go. You have to know the data. Do you know that 19 million poor and low-wage voters that voted for Biden-Harris didn't turn out for Kamala Harris? And regardless of why that is, we have to know that and know where they are. And so that's why on that weekend, the weekend of January 12th, and you know that's the weekend that Mega Evers...
June 12th, June 12th, June 12th, 13th.
That's right. That's right. But what people also fail to remember is that weekend was they wanted to kill 3 people. It was a brother in Louisiana. It was Bernard Lafayette, who just died, and Mega Evers. They got Mega. There was a goal in that day in 1963 to take out the young civil rights leadership. And right now, we are in a battle to take out all the power that leadership won. And so what we're saying is on that day, and on the same day that Kennedy announced he was going to fight for the Civil Rights Act, we have to grab that moment because we're watching the undoing. And folk have to be strategically trained on how to use the technology, how to do door knocking, how to be strategic, how to work the percentages. It's not always about, well, we're just going to get 100% of the people to vote. That's not how you do it. You really need to be technical. For instance, I can tell you right now, Roland, in North Carolina, we need 1,830 votes per county to overcome the margin of victory that Trump had in 2024. That's the kind of specificity that we have to have and then go after where we can find those votes.
Well, to your point, Isaac Hayes III posted this on social a couple of days ago. You talk about data. You see it right here. He said, eligible black Georgians who didn't vote. 2018 governor's race decided by 54,723 votes, 900,000 and 1.1 million black folks. Eligible black folks didn't vote. In 2022, 191,000. He said, if we show up, we win. Same thing, 2024. North Carolina, some 600,000 black folks didn't show up. And I keep saying the floor for black people should be 70%. That's the floor.
That's right.
Not 45, not 52, not excited because it's 55, 70%. Otherwise, we're going to just be sitting here whining and complaining when they just run the table.
And let me be the first, because I know somebody said, Reverend Barber, I just saw North Carolina. You all didn't do it. You're exactly right. That's one of the reasons why I'm saying I can't be out here going everywhere else, Roland, and not stay in my own home state. I'm saying it to every preacher that wants to do big national speeches.
Nope.
If you're not organizing your church, then you have no credibility to do that. If you're not organizing your community, you have no credibility to do that. So it is time for us to take these numbers and as you said, not just say if we show up, we win, then talk about how we show up. How do we turn loose every van, every bus, every person, use every phone, every cell phone? You know, I used to say it like this, Roland, if Harriet Tubman could get 700 people out of slavery, and she never had anything, email, Black Star Network, cell phone, car, none of that. If she could do that, then we must do more. So I wrote this to you the other day, and I want to say it on the air. What I believe, it's past time to act like we're in a war, a battle against forces of racism and injustice and authoritarianism all at the same time. Emails with no call to action, tweets with no truth-telling and movement directives, marches with no clear agenda and clear goals and strategies after the march, sermons, speeches with catchy phraseology, but no follow-up and no follow-through that turn words into deeds, macro talk without micro-organizing, politicians who offer criticism of what Trump has done in his first 120 days, but no clear agenda of what they will do in their first 50 days, have no place in this battle now. We're in a different moment, y'all. And with everybody's got to straighten up and fly right.
Folks, do me a favor. If y'all want to be if you want to be trained in organizing and mobilizing and getting the vote out, we ain't paying lip service. This ain't just a whole pontificating. This is about real training. June 12th and 13th, go to blackstarnetwork.com. Click the link. You'll see it right there. You go down there. When you scroll down, you're going to click that link right here. It's going to take you to a form. We put my email out earlier. We don't have to now. This is the contact form. Your name, your date of birth, your address, your email, your mobile phone. Sign up for email, dates, text messages. We still are organizing alphas. That's for a specific reason, y'all. If you're a member, just click that box right there and click submit. Because last point, Bishop, and this is what gets on my nerves, when I remember Reverend Jackson and I had it out once in Chicago because he had a rally and they were not collecting data. The problem I have is when I see these folks have rallies and events and all this stuff, and I'm like, y'all don't even know who's here. How are you not collecting data? How are you going to move the people after the protest to go to the City Hall chamber or the state legislature chamber or the Congress if you don't know who the heck showed up at your event? You got to be collecting data to follow up with people.
Always. That's why, Roland, as you said, you can go to breachrepairers.org and click there. We're collecting this data. And on May the 11th at 5 o'clock in Washington, D.C., we're having a Moral Monday. We've been doing Moral Mondays for several weeks now, right in front of the White House.
Yep.
But Moral Monday for peace and nonviolence. But we're connecting the violence of the war in Iran to the violence of voting rights denial. That's violence too. Poverty is violence. Denying people living wages is violence. And we're going to be connecting data. And we are asking for several thousand people to come in the street right in front of the White House, starting at Black Lives Matter, and then right in front of the White House. We'll have thousands online. We're gathering data. We're inviting people in. And by the way, Roland, these trainings, some of it will be in person, but most of it will be online. So there's no excuse, right?
Right.
And the kind of training we're going to do is not for you to do it for repairs of the breach, but to turn you loose in your own community.
Yep.
To turn groups loose in their own community. That's what has to happen now. This is not about building any one person's kingdom. This is about us engaging this battle that we're in now to stop the erosion of everything that our foreparents won, but also push forward into the things that are yet to be won. And one of them is, Doc, we've got to get our lawyers and figure out a way to do a Voting Rights Act that can never be undone like this ever again.
That's right.
That's part of what has to be on an agenda in the coming, and after we do the election.
Indeed. Bishop William Barber, I appreciate it, Frat. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, my brother.
All right, then. Y'all, I saw this the other day, and I figured today's panel would really decide to weigh in on this. And y'all already know I can't even deal with the lying on Fox News and the sheer stupidity on Fox News and the most ignorant stuff on Fox News. But they said something that made no sense to me whatsoever. They were talking about Jimmy Kimmel and his joke about Melania being a widower, and Trump lost his mind. Listen to what this fool, Emily Campanano, whatever the hell her name is, Campo Crazy, actually said. Y'all, she must be high.
And my second observation is I would really appreciate if any former First Lady would release a statement and just say, I stand in support of this First Lady. Because that absence of commentary in the way of many... Michelle Obama is on her podcast all the time. We've heard her thoughts on a lot of things. Can she just spare one sentence in support of this First Lady who has been through so much, who has a target on her in the public square and out? It is horrifyingly atrocious how she has been treated. I would love for there to be some support coming out of her mouth.
Run that by me again.
Observation is I would really appreciate if any former First Lady would release a statement and just say, I stand in support of this First Lady, because that absence of commentary in the way of many. Michelle Obama is on her podcast all the time. We've heard her thoughts on a lot of things. Can she just spare one sentence in support of this First Lady who has been through so much, who has a target on her in the public square and out? It is horrifyingly atrocious how she has been treated. I would love for there to be some support coming out of her mouth.
Randy, did I see two black people sitting on that couch? Harris trifling ass Faulkner and Charles Payne nodding and agreeing. Do you recall Melania saying anything when Trump posted a video displaying Michelle and Barack as monkeys? I don't recall Melania saying to her twice impeached, criminally convicted, pooping in his pants husband, take that crap down. So these ignorant ass fools, they have the audacity to say that Michelle needs to come to the defense of Melania?
I don't even see how they got how she got the words out of her mouth. Like, the absolute audacity is just stunning. This is a woman who has watched her husband rip apart and denigrate everybody. I can't even say just black people. The man attacks everybody, but specifically, it hasn't been a month that the man posted a video depicting former President Barack Obama and Michelle as monkeys. And did she speak up? And let me just say that the First Lady said that her platform was going to be anti-bullying, which is a joke considering her husband is the biggest bully that has ever walked this earth. I mean, it seems as if these are people who always speak about Christianity and they only expect black folks to be Christians. Like, we are the ones who are supposed to smile and accept terrible treatment, as they seem to accept and actually embrace the horrific treatment that their leader puts on everybody else. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable. And she had the audacity to say that. I don't see how she didn't fall out. Yeah, and then the black people nodding.
Nicole, I'm going to go old school. I mean, I don't know what these folks say. They talking about cap. I don't use that. I don't use that. I'm going to go old school. She had the gall to let that come out of her mouth, and they little two nodding asses like, oh, yeah.
The audacity, if that's one thing they're going to have, is audacity. And we know Michelle Obama doesn't owe Melania Trump anything. They're lucky that Michelle Obama doesn't come out swinging against them. But as we know, Michelle Obama said, when they go low, we go high. But she ain't about to go that high, okay? This has been an administration that has dehumanized her and her husband. Long before Trump even came into office, he was questioning whether or not they were born in America. I mean, the list goes on and on and on about how they have disrespected Michelle Obama. And then they got the nerve to ask her to stand up and say something. Goodbye.
Mustafa, I'm going to go one more. That child had the caucasity to let that come out her mouth. And it's amazing how they want black folk to stand up, support, and show compassion when Melania ain't said a damn word about the vicious attacks. And let me remind everybody watching and listening that Melania Trump, sorry ass, is a birther. Melania Trump was on Joy Behar's headline news show with that birther nonsense. Oh, ain't no way in hell Michelle Obama should say a damn thing coming to the aid of the defense. Let Melania talk, but she can't because she can barely speak English.
You got me with caucasity. You know, that's my word. I wrote a poem about it.
Yeah, my auntie would say, you done lost your damn mind. It's just crazy. I don't know what is going on in that studio. They either got some gummies going on in there or some dark liquor or something that's going on, because First Lady Michelle Obama has been so gracious with her time when in the spotlight. And I mean, they were just vicious about her looks, about her intellect, about so many things that were completely false. And so for her to say something in this moment makes no sense whatsoever, nor should she, as all the other panelists have said. But it is, you know, it's sort of par for the course for these folks, because once again, privilege makes you think that you can say and do anything to everyone else, but then they are supposed to come to your defense because of some God-given right. So I'm glad that there is silence there. The First Lady continues to be gracious, and she should not even, you know, dip her toe into this poison pool that they have.
This is me portraying Michelle Obama. Huh? Is somebody talking? You talking? Huh? Y'all talk to me to say what about her? What's for lunch? That's how I respond. Fox News, Emily, you out your damn mind. How dare y'all? How dare y'all sit here and say that, especially with all the trash that has emanated from Harris Faulkner's mouth about the Obamas. You go sit your monkey ass down too. Oh, I know y'all might say, ooh, you call Harris Faulkner a monkey. No, that's a Robin Harris line. Okay, so just in case any of y'all, if y'all ain't seen Baby's Kids, Harris Faulkner can go sit her ass down too, because she sound like a damn fool sitting there, kikiing with Emily saying, oh yeah, she should defend Melania. Hell no, Melania ain't said a damn thing about the attacks on Michelle Obama, the attacks on Barack Obama, the attacks on all the other black folk. She let her crazy. First of all, she ain't even in the White House. They gotta pay her to show up. So why don't y'all talk about that? You out y'all damn mind. Man, let me go to a damn commercial break before I cuss these fools out. I'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered, the Black Star Network. Support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. You want to contribute via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here on the screen. It's also for credit cards as well. Checks and money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2003 7-0196. PayPal, R. Martin Unfiltered, Venmo, RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back with our Shop Black Star Network segment.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, and I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
How you doing? I'm Mark Curry, and you're watching the Black Star Network. That's why I got these glasses on, because that black star is bright.
All right, Women having their period, it's a reality. For women seeking greater comfort and mobility during their cycle, finding the right product can make all the difference in their daily lives. Tonight's segment, our guest is transforming period care with a more convenient and eco-friendly menstrual product. Honor is a period apparel brand that offers patented reusable underwear featuring a flexible absorbency system allowing users to swap liners throughout the day. Cecilia Towns-Scott, founder of Honor, joins us right now. Cecilia, glad to have you here. And so, all right, we always ask owners what led them to this. And for you, was it just not finding proper products?
Yeah, and thank you so much for allowing me to be here, Roland. So now I work as an attorney, but before I did that, I worked in Chicago public schools. And, wanting to have a more eco-friendly period, we all know the earth is on fire. And using traditional period panties, the liner for them is sewn into them. And so imagine what that's like. You have your period panties, you work in a high school, you have 4 minutes between classes. What are you going to do, right? And I'm in Chicago, so in the middle of the winter, that's having to take off pants, possibly leggings, remove the underwear, put on a new pair of underwear, and try to make it back to class. Like it was just too much. And so I learned sewing from my mother, so I've always known how to sew, entrepreneurship from both my parents. And so just kind of start thinking like, okay, how can we do this better, right? Like there's a lot of brands out there, but with everything else in the market, we're kind of marinating in our own magic all day. And I just felt like we could do better. And so Honor was born. So
you were mainly thinking of young women who are in middle school and high school who have these issues where they are at school all day.
Middle school and high school, but honestly, grown women as well, postpartum women as well, women with bladder leaks as well, right? Like there are actually a number of groups of women who have issues with either period blood or something leaking, right? And literally we got the patent because everything else on the market only comes as one unit. There's literally nothing else on the market where the absorbency is removable. And so with Honor, you get one brief, but every package comes with 2 liners. So you can, period into it or bladder leak into it. And then when you need to freshen up, you can remove the liner, put in a fresh dry liner and go on about your day. And so, I say with everybody else, you're one and done. But with us, you kind of get 2 uses.
Wow. And y'all got the patent as well.
We got the patent, yes.
Okay. Questions from the panel. Randy, you first.
Well, first, let me thank you for honoring women by even concentrating on something that has been needed, because we know that the way this world is set up, a lot of times we don't get the products that we need to function. So thank you for that. I wanted to ask you, you just mentioned that this is not just for younger women, but older women as well. And I wanted to ask you, where can people buy I know we can buy it here, but are you going to have it in retail stores as well?
Yes. So right now, thank you. So right now you can buy it here. You can also buy it on our website, wehonoryourflow.com. We are absolutely kind of working and praying to get it in retail stores. We had it on walmart.com. And so, we're continuing to work on that, but definitely trying to expand the number of places where the product is offered. But right now it is offered with Roland Martin and on wehonoryourflow.com.
All right, cool. So shopblackstarnetwork.com. So while y'all watching the segment, y'all can go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. Nicole, go. Hold up, can't hear you. You're on mute. All right, okay. All right, we'll figure it out. Let me go to Mustafa, then come back to Nicole.
Yeah, well, it was great to hear you talk about eco-friendly. And, I work a lot with chemicals, and I know how impactful they can be to the body. And I remember the days of toxic shock syndrome. Can you talk a little bit about how yours are eco-friendly and how they are healthier and safer?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that question. So that was actually, it took us a while to get our final product ready. And that was a big part of it. So a huge conversation in period wear, especially in the one-time use products, is PFASs. These are basically forever chemicals that are found in literally everything. And so when that was actually one of the questions that we asked our manufacturer when we were trying to figure out like where we, getting the fabrics and who's going to make it for us, do your products have PFASs in them? And our manufacturer kind of sent us their certificate that says, like we do not have those chemicals in the products that we're using because part of the research and kind of what got us to the name, we started off as Honor Your Flow, because when you do the research about menstruation, you find out that you may bleed for, 3 to 7 days, but what actually impacts how you experience your period is what you're doing for the rest of the month. So the products that you're putting on your body, the chemicals that you're being exposed to, your diet, your exercise, like all those sort of things. So we actually made the product with that in mind, to not have all of those chemicals that are in the one-time use products. There's always, there's some things that most products have to kind of be sprayed with, because they're being shipped and things of that sort. But we did take special care to make sure that our products do not have the PFASs that are in one-time use products because of the way that it can affect your body. And just, again, a lot of the stuff that's out in the market was not made by us, not made for us, not made with our health in mind. And so a big thing for us is kind of when we make products for ourselves, we do it better, right? And so that was a big part of the brand.
I think we got Nicole's audio straight. Nicole.
Yes, I'm back. So I think this product is so incredible. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about accessibility, because I know a lot of women live in areas where they can't easily access a CVS or Walgreens to get the products that they need. But if they have something that they can use multiple times, that might make things a little bit easier. So can you talk about that?
Sure. So that's another big part. I think, and we're just so thankful for it while we got the patent, because a big accessibility piece here is the fact that you can remove the liner, when you're wearing it. I know you talked about accessibility as far as location, but I also want to talk about accessibility as far as ability, right? For folks who might be wheelchair bound or just might have issues putting their pants on and off, something where you can remove the liner is going to allow that group of people to access a sustainable period. And then to, the actual point that you made, my apologies, for right now, we are offered, the product is offered on our website. So even if you don't have a CVS that is near you, we ship everywhere. We ship definitely everywhere in the US. We have shipped overseas. We are willing to ship any and everywhere because accessibility when it comes to period products is such a huge thing that taps on the reusable part of it as well, right? Like if you can't get to a CVS very often, but you have these period panties that you can wash over and over and over again, and literally all pieces of our product, that's from the brief to the liner to the waterproof wet bag, all of that comes with it. You can throw the whole thing in the washer and then in the dryer, and it lasts for years.
So folks, ladies, mothers, aunts, cousins, sisters, wives, you name it. And of course, men, you can also buy products as well for the women in your family. Go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. The product is called Honor. Go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. This is the website. If you go there, you can check out the products as we speak. Please support this Black-owned company. Great product and great job, Cecilia. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
All right, a couple of things to close out the show. First, I saw this story y'all 3 weeks ago, and I really tried my best to. Are some white people just so stressed that they can't avoid black people just minding their own damn business? A group of black women are in a park. They just working out. They are just minding their own black business. They are just having themselves a good time trying to get their bodies in shape. And this ignorant ass Karen decided to bring her trifling ass over to mess with them. Go ahead and press play.
Does she own the park?
Okay, that's fine. She didn't charge anybody to be here. But I didn't charge anybody to be here. That's for my stuff that they're using. That's what they're paying for. So mind your goddamn business. Take your ass home.
I mean, do you want me to call all you guys?
You need to show respect, ma'am. I work with the city road. This is not your property.
Anybody said go ahead
You've been out here for 2 hours.
But what's the problem? You and that girl was on the kid.
What's the problem?
You and that
What's the camera?
What's
the problem? What's the problem?
Nicole, I'm telling you, Donald Trump gonna get some white folks' ass whooped. I mean, this idea that you think you just own the park and you just can roll up and question folk. I have been to numerous parks. Not one time did I go, they don't look like they belong here. It's a park. Girl, go sit your plain Jane ass down. She should take her ass shopping.
Because that little skirt she had on, anyway. You know, not only do they think that they own parks and streets, they think they own the whole world. That anywhere where Black people are existing with joy and happiness, that they need to try to come and shut it down. But we are not taking that. We never have and we never will. So that's why she got turned away and roasted, because she had to call Cassidy, like we talked about earlier. They hate to see us even exist. So I'm not surprised by this.
I mean, I sit here, Randy, and it's like in moments like this, that's when you want to have that Radio Raheem boombox. And when her ass start talking, you just turn it up and drown her silly ass out.
You know, we talk about it all the time. I find white women in particular to be obsessed with us. All of us have the experience of being out, maybe not in a park, but a restaurant or anywhere, and they are just, even if they don't say something, because some of them have a little bit of sense, but they are paying attention, like can't even help themselves from staring. So yes, they are obsessed. And I know one thing that drives me crazy is they're always threatening to call the police or something, like they're their
right.
It just like that there should be laws that protect us, right? Taxpayers, from white women using the police as their personal security, because they call for frivolous things just to exert their control over Black people. Gets on my nerves.
I think, Mustafa, we are gonna have to, we gotta pull that scene from Friday. With Chris Tucker. And we just gonna have to sit here and teach every Black person this here. Move your little silly ass on. See, I'm not addressing these people. We ain't even, that was a 44-second soundbite. That sucker lasted about 42 seconds too long.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, they try and play with us, right? Because historically, they've been able to play with us. They've been able to, there used to be laws that you couldn't go into certain parks. And they would come and arrest us, but that's not the reality anymore. And people need to understand that this is 2026 and not 1956. The other part of it is, let's just be honest, also, there's a lot of jealousy. There's jealousy against Black women. Those sisters is out there keeping it tight, keeping it right, and, enjoying the sun. And as was said earlier, embracing their joy. And for some folks, that can be triggering because in many instances, there are other folks across our country who are not happy. They're not happy with themselves. So they often want to take it out on folks who are. So, I would say we should pray for folks, but they need to pray for themselves because this darkness that's inside of them continues to come out, and sometimes that darkness will cost you.
Absolutely. These people, they just get, as the folk back in the day say, y'all working my nerves. You working my last Black nerve. Nicole, Mustafa, and Randy, I appreciate y'all being on today's panel. Thank you so very much. Again, see y'all next week. Y'all, it's time for Black Stud Network Headlines with Brittany Noble.
A Louisiana Fifth Circuit Appeals Court ruling blocks newly elected Calvin Duncan from taking office again. On Monday, Duncan arrived at Orleans Parish Criminal Court for his first day in office as the new clerk of criminal court, but was only able to serve for a few hours. A federal judge temporarily suspended the previous ruling that cleared the way for Duncan to take office. On Sunday, Judge John DeGravels temporarily struck down a new state law that was signed by Governor Jeff Landry to eliminate the office of Orleans Parish Criminal District Court Clerk. In his ruling, he said that the new law was unconstitutional and disenfranchised voters. Duncan, an exonerated prisoner turned lawyer, won the hotly contested November election by a wide margin against incumbent clerk Darren Lambert. Well, Black MAGA influencer named Craig Long, who recently posed with President Donald Trump at a UFC event, has been arrested in Florida as part of a multi-day human trafficking sting. The 41-year-old is the owner of Craig Long Fitness in Tampa and is a self-described MAGA and social media influencer. Police have accused him of seeking the services of a prostitute. The multi-agency operation targeted both those seeking to exploit minors and individuals soliciting prostitutes. Long was among 266 arrested, including January 6 rioter Ryan Yates, and 2 men who allegedly brought children along to their illegal meetups in Polk County, Florida. Polk County Sheriff Grady Judge did not hold back at some of the people caught in the sting. A significant development for historically Black colleges and universities is underway as 15 HBCUs have come together to strengthen their collective research capabilities, secure funding, and enhance their national impact. This coalition, called the Association of HBCU Research Institutions, includes prominent institutions such as Howard University, Morgan State University, and Florida A&M University. Together, they aim to promote research led by Black scholars, the Association of American Universities, Harvard University, the Legacy of Slavery Initiative, and the Harvard University Office of the Vice Provost for Research support this initiative. This partnership includes a 3-year, $1 million grant designed to expand research capacity and resources. Leaders of the initiative emphasize the importance of addressing disparities. Their goals include strengthening faculty recruitment, investing in necessary infrastructure, and tackling pressing issues such as health disparities and economic inequality that affect our community. Well, the Indiana Black Expo is making a significant change to its Circle City Classic event by replacing the traditional HBCU football game with high school games. IBE CEO Alice Watson explains that this shift aims to enhance revenue streams and ensure sustainability by reducing costs and increasing flexibility. This change will take effect later this year and will feature 2 premier boy high school football games and 2 girls high school flag football matchups, all hosted at Lucas Oil Stadium. In keeping with the event's signature traditions, activities will include the Battle of the Bands, the Miss Circle City Classic Coronation, and the Classic Parade, and also the Fall Fest community event. The Circle City Classic and Summer Celebration has served as the organization's primary fundraisers. And in Florida, an 18-year-old is making history as the youngest graduate from Florida State University's College of Nursing program. Demetria Coley earned her degree after an impressive academic journey. Her father, Demetria, is a science teacher, homeschooled her, and by the age of 15, she had already earned her associate degree from Tallahassee Community College, becoming the youngest graduate in that school's history. Her educational path was accelerated from the beginning. She graduated high school and college simultaneously and then completed her prerequisites at Florida A&M University before enrolling at Florida State University. Now, she is following in the footsteps of her mom, Alicia, a nurse who sadly passed away from ovarian cancer in 2020 when Demetria was just 13 years old. But now she is channeling that loss into purpose. During her time at FSU, she gained experience training at Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare, and she now plans to work as a neonatal intensive care unit nurse. We wish her well. Roland, back to you.
All right, folks, be sure to tune into the Breakdown of Brittany Noble every day, noon Eastern, right here on the Black Star Network. Again, the Breakdown of Brittany Noble every day, noon Eastern on the Black Star Network. Y'all, last story here. Today, a group of bishops joined together to announce a national initiative to focus on the election as well as social justice. Today in Chicago, led by Bishop Byron Brazier of Apostolic Church of God, the National, let me go ahead and read this for you, the National Faith and Justice Council made their announcement. Their goal is this newly formed coalition. Their goal is to feature presiding bishops, representatives of the various churches too, committed to serving as a unified moral, spiritual, and civic voice during a time of growing social fragmentation, civic instability, and community distress. Here are some of the comments. We live streamed this event. Here's some of what Bishop Brazier had to say today.
Today has not simply been a conversation. It really has been a declaration. A declaration that faith leadership in this nation is still strong. A declaration that unity across denominations is not only possible, it is necessary. And a declaration that the church still has a vital role to play in shaping the moral, spiritual, and civic direction of our communities. We have affirmed something that is not just powerful, but extraordinary. United faith leadership that will create united community. Organized people will create transformation. And the church will guide the process as the change agent for justice and restoration. But let us be clear. What has been shared today must now be activated. This moment requires more than agreement. It requires alignment with faith leaders, pastors, congregations, stakeholders, and partners. It requires structure, and it requires movement. The National Faith and Justice Council is not simply an idea. It is an apparatus, an organized, disciplined, and intentional framework designed to mobilize leaders, congregations, and communities across this nation. Our first mobilization will be in voter registration and voter turnout. We must understand that we do not participate when others try to decide for us. But when we are organized, informed, and unified, we will shape outcomes of generations to come. This is not about politics. This is about responsibility. This is about stewardship. This is about the future of our communities and the generations still yet to come. The Declaration of Freedom reminds us that we are not powerless, but we are positioned. And we live this moment with clarity. We will educate, we will organize, we will mobilize, and we will sustain. To the people of faith, together we will not walk away from this moment. And I just want to take the time to thank each and every one of the participants, to thank them for their commitment, and to thank them for standing together, for together we will move forward.
All right, folks. Hey, tomorrow's Roland Martin Unfiltered. We are going to show you an interview I did when I was in Tulsa for the 100th anniversary with former Oklahoma State Representative Donald Ross. While I was there, he's a huge fan of mine. I did an interview with him. He gave me autographed copy of his book. He was the one who set up the Tulsa Race Riot Commission, also led the effort to take down the Confederate flag in Oklahoma. He passed away today. His daughter called me, his son sent me a text, and so tomorrow I'll run for you the interview that I did with him when we were in Tulsa several years ago. Folks, that is it for us. Don't forget, if you want to organize and mobilize when it comes to the election taking place, the training is June 12th, 13th, the Bishop William Barber. Go to blackstarnetwork.com. You can go there. You can sign up right there on the website. Just click where you see his photo, link, click it, and you can sign up. All right, folks, don't forget, also right now happening is the Win with Black Men call, the emergency meeting that's taking place right now. The QR code is right there. I'll go to winwithblackmen.org to get the link as well. Don't forget, support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Look, your dollars are important for us to do what we do, so your support matters. And if we contribute to our fan club, please do so. Use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. That's for checks and money orders. I'm sorry, Stripe QR code is for Cash App. It's also for credit cards. Checks, if you want to see a check and money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal. R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo, RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. If you want to get our Black Star Network swag, go to shopblackstarnetwork.com, shopblackstarnetwork.com to get our swag. Also support our Black-owned businesses. Go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. And of course, if you want to be sure to, if you want to support a fan base, download the app. You can also follow me at Roland S. Martin. Folks, that's it. I'll see y'all tomorrow right here, Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.